into Real Shame, a show where we talk about our list of movie blind spots or list of shame or list of whatever you want to call it. But it's basically movies that we, for whatever reason, have not seen over the years, and we are now watching them. And for the first time, as we record this, we are finding out each other's opinions of these films. So we do not discuss these films ahead of time. So if you see shocked looks on our faces, that's genuine. That we're not faking that in any way.
We don't even send cryptic texts to each other.
No, we certainly don't. My name's Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And on this week, we're going to talk about two movies. And yes, I have not seen either movie. Sometimes I've seen the movie that we were doing on Wednesday, but never on Monday, at least if it's my week. But this time, I've not seen either of the movies. So Adam is going to tell you all about the movie we are going to talk about today.
All right. A winning, obsessed, self-centered lawyer, Gordon Bombay, is sentenced to community service while coaching a terrible ragtag youth hockey team whose name would soon become the Mighty Ducks.
What you're doing? Your face card. We're gonna get in big trouble. Hey, y'all chill, all right? I'll take care of it. You're a drug dealer, and I just know it. Yo, dude, you obviously in the wrong hood. This is my dominion. This is a drug-free zone, you understand? Yeah, man, that's right. We ain't buying nothing. Now, I'm feeling generous today. So I'm gonna let you get your side vanilla booty out of here before we be using your eyeballs as hockey pucks.
Thanks, bro. But I'm not going home till I take care of business.
The Mighty Ducks came out in 1992. It is written by Stephen Brill. Stephen Brill would actually write all three movies of the Mighty Ducks series. And it's directed by Stephen Herrick. Stephen only directed this one. Like I said, Brill directed all three. He's also directed Ready to Rumble, the wrestling movie, Heavyweights, which I really liked.
I remember Heavyweights.
And Little Nicky.
Heavyweights has some of the same cast as in this,
does.
right?
It does, yeah. And Stephen Herrick would direct Critters, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and Mr. Holland's Opus. That's a big swath of movies.
Cool.
Mighty Ducks stars Emilio as Gordon Bombay, Josh Ackland as Hans, Lane Smith, love seeing Lane Smith as Coach Riley, Heidi Kling as Casey. We got Joshua Jackson in one of his early roles as Charlie. We got Eldon Henderson as Fulton Reed. You'll know him from the Daredevil TV series and some other stuff he's done later on. Sean Weiss as Goldberg and Vincent LaRusso. Not related to Danny LaRusso because he's a fictional character as Adam Banks. This is a movie I feel like I watched a bunch as I was growing up, just because it's, I was of the age and all that kind of stuff. It was one of those go-to kind of sports movies like The Sandlot and like that kind of stuff. And but it's a movie that Andy hasn't seen, so I'm gonna toss it over to you. What'd you know about the Mighty Ducks going into it, and what'd you think about the Mighty Ducks watching it this time around?
So, because as we've said many times, and because I'm older than you. So when Mighty Ducks came out, I was not really of the age to watch. I was too old. I mean, I wasn't that old, but I was too old really.
You're too cool for school.
For this to be sort of my kind of film. So when it came out, I remember, when it came out, I remember when Disney put this out. I just didn't have any interest in it. Yeah. And then, because we've also established how time works on this show, over the years, I've not really ever had any interest in it because I've gotten even older. Yeah. So I was too old for it then, and I'm really old for it now. I say that jokingly, obviously. Yeah. You can watch whatever movie you want to watch. You don't have to be too old or too young, or there's no such thing, I guess. Maybe there is such a thing, but nevertheless. But yeah, I remember seeing, the poster or whatever with Emilio Estevez in it. I didn't really know who all was in this movie. But once I started watching it, I was like, oh, it's Foggy Nelson or whatever from, I was like, as a kid, basically, and Pacey, right, from Dawson's Creek, Joshua Jackson. So it was interesting seeing some of the kids when they were young,
Yep.
not only in this movie but in the sequel as well. But I thought that was kind of cool or whatever. I mean, as far as this movie, I mean, I'm not going to be harsh on it. Again, I feel like it's okay. Because I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't watch it all the time as a kid, and I'm coming to it now as an adult, well into my adult years. I mean, I can appreciate it kind of for what it is. It's a Disney film. I mean, I think fairly formulaic, right? I mean, I don't think that they really throw any curveballs at you here. But, people talk about, when a film is formulaic, and sometimes that can be a huge negative, and sometimes that's okay, right? But I feel like, I mean, in this case, I feel like it's okay. I mean, I think Disney, they've made their gajillion dollars off of putting out, and they have some great movies. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing, all their films or anything. But I mean, a lot of their films, I think you could describe as formulaic. I mean, every so often, sure, they will throw in something maybe that subverts your expectations. But for the most part, I don't feel like there's anything in this film that's that surprising. I feel like everything that if you've seen even just a handful of movies in your life, I feel like if you watch this for the first time, there's not going to be anything maybe that you don't see coming. But I didn't think it was a bad movie or anything like that. I mean, I enjoyed it. I guess for the formulaic kind of creation that it is. I would say my biggest criticisms with it are I don't need all the flashbacks. Once again, I feel like we said that about something else. I don't remember what it was, but maybe it was with Top Gun Maverick.
It was Top Gun Maverick.
But I don't necessarily need all the flashbacks to him as like a little kid and like his dad, and Lane Smith,
like
don't miss this or whatever, and all that stuff. I thought that the kid that plays Averman, I think is the kid's name, with the glasses, was super annoying because this whole time he's doing the Rob Schneider, like, hey, the Red Man, okay. I was like, oh my God. And I'm sure that played a lot better back then because, the Rob Schneider making copies was a lot more, but I just found that guy super, super annoying. And I think Emilio Estevez is weak. I mean, I think there's a reason why Charlie Sheen has always been a bigger star. Like out of the Estevez brothers, because Charlie Sheen's name is actually Carlos Estevez. I think out of the Estevez brothers, Charlie is by far the bigger star because I feel like I don't know if he's a better actor, but he's a lot more expressive and he has a lot more emotion. Emilio Estevez, even when he's emotional, he almost looks like this. He's like, "What are you guys doing? Oh, you shouldn't be doing." And so he comes across as a little bit aloof and blasé in this film, and I know he's like the coach in like all of them. So I don't know that bodes well, but I feel like honestly, I think the movie would be better served with a more animated lead character, as a more animated lead actor playing that role. I don't think Emilio is bad per se, but I feel like he's, like, as I said, he's just kind of blasé and a little bit aloof. But other than that, I mean, I don't have any major criticisms of the film. Sadly, it's not going to be a movie that I'm going to be, it's going to be on repeat viewing, for me. Maybe it would have, had I been a little kid whenever I saw this, a long time ago. But again, I don't think that it's a bad film. I mean, we'll get to it, but critically, it's not very well received. But I mean, I feel like they're being overly harsh, and most of the criticisms that I read of it complained about how formulaic it is. But I think, again, cliches become cliches for a reason, and formula movies are formulaic for a reason. It's because that sort of thing works. And so I feel like this works just fine. Unless you're like Pauline Kael or you're some overly harsh critic, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy this film. I mean, I don't think it's a bad film by any stretch. So how do you feel about it? Obviously, you watched it a lot as a child.
I did.
Is the last time you saw it, 30 years ago?
No, I saw it like a handful of years ago.
Okay.
I think.
So what did you think about it the handful of years ago, and what did you think about it now?
Yeah, I mean, I like it for what it is. Again, it's not high art or anything like that. It's not like it's going to win Best Picture.
But it's perfectly serviceable.
Yeah. And I think Disney has had a streak of these kind of sports movies. Like, I think Disney does sports movies really well. And probably because they adhere to a formula and all that kind of stuff. And you know what you're going to get out of it and all that kind of stuff. But I think the cast, the kids are zany enough where maybe some of them border on the edge of annoying. But I think they're zany.
He was the only one. Everybody else thought it was fine.
I think it's zany enough and all that kind of stuff to make the movie fun to watch and all that kind of stuff. So I like it for what it is, right? It's just like a fun, like kind of sports movie, you know, where the good guys are going to come up and win and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, I think Disney, did they did Remember the Titans, which is a little less formulaic, but they had like a whole litany of, I feel like, sports movies that they did really well on that kind of stuff. Some of the notes I have in here is that I think it's really fiction that Gordon's boss really wants him to work less and take a break. I'm like, whoa, the 90s must have been a really different time.
Right, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. I like that we saw the North Stars in there, and that was before they would become the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, just before,
right?
yeah.
And there's Mike Madonna makes an appearance, who would go on and win.
Legendary.
Yeah, and help win the Stanley Cup for Dallas, right?
Yep.
And all that kind of stuff. And I was reading a little bit on the backstory on that, and apparently the North Stars, it was Michigan, right? North Stars?
Minnesota North Stars
Were supposed to go to Los Angeles, but Disney wanted to, they're basically funding a team, and since this movie, I guess, did well, they wanted to name it after this movie. So they started a whole new franchise called the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks, named after this movie. And then we got the Stars and eventually a Stanley Cup trophy for that. So I thought it was kind of interesting how like this movie in real life kind of played out. The other thing is that jumped out at me was I thought the score was really good. And to me, it sounded almost like an Alan Silvestri, like Back to the Future kind of score. Like I looked at it, I'm like, this has got to be Alan Silvestri. And it's not. It's actually Dave Newman, whose brother and dad and uncle are all composers. He's the lesser known Newman. I can't think of his brother. Is
his brother Alfred E. Newman?
No, yeah, it's Bad Magazine.
What?
Guys.
Me worry? No, I now that you say that, I agree. I do remember the score. I liked it. Yeah, I agree.
It kind of has like that twinkle, like the magic's happening kind of stuff. I remember a lot from like Alan Silvestri for like Back to the Future and stuff like that. So I thought the score was really good and really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it's competently directed. Again, it's a kids movie, it's PG, it's formulaic. It's probably like a lot of kids' first few movies, so they surprised. But I for what it is, I like it.
And that's a good point. I mean, why would you make a movie like this that's aimed more towards a teen kid audience and not make it formulaic?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the kids expect.
Yeah,
right?
You can't subvert anything if they don't have any expectations.
Yeah. So I don't really get I get the criticism that it's formulaic, but I don't understand why that would really, really sour you on it. Well, I like your next note. I didn't read that.
Yeah. So you were talking about Charlie Sheen a little bit earlier, and apparently he was offered the role of Gordon Bombay, and he turned it down, and they're like, what about your brother?
So I did not read that. I didn't read the trivia or look it up or anything like that. So that's interesting because, I mean, that I really did think Emilio was kind of in the role. So I think Charlie Sheen would have been better.
He was too busy making all those parody movies like Hot Shots and Loaded Weapon and all that kind of stuff.
I guess so. But I kind of wish he would have taken over the role. I think or would have taken the role and not had his brother do it.
And the last thing I have in my notes is that originally the premise was supposed to be much darker, and it was about an ex-NHL player who turned into an alcoholic and was seeking revenge on his old coach by coaching the opposite team. So really, really, really dark. And someone in trivia said this, and I don't know if this is true, but Gordon Bombay is named after two types of gin, right? Gordon's and Bombay gin.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, I didn't do any research, so that could just be a nice coincidence, or maybe it was
I didn't even think
Stephen
about that.
Brill's idea to do that. But so
every time they said Bombay, I thought of Mumbai. Right? That's what Bombay's called now. So I didn't even think about gin.
Yeah,
interesting.
So, but some of that stuff stayed a little bit because he had a coach after he got a DUI or whatever, DWI and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So What do the critics have? Did you already say the critics? No,
I did not. I hinted earlier that they were not kind to it, and obviously we've said plenty of times it's a Disney movie, so this is obviously streaming on Disney Plus.
It is.
As are everything Mighty Ducks related. It's all Disney, so it's all on Disney Plus. If you have a subscription,
oh, there's
to
like
Disney
a
Plus.
bunch of it. There's Mighty Ducks. There's D2 Mighty Ducks. There's D3 Mighty Ducks, and I might say like the D2 D3 might be the precursor for like Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
like using the same name but altering the title a little bit.
Yeah.
Is all that kind of stuff. There's a Mighty Ducks animated series, which I caught episodes of way back in the 90s and it was kind of cool, interesting. And then there's a new class, Mighty Ducks new class or new generation, Degrassi new generation of Mighty Ducks or whatever.
Whatever it takes.
Which
I know I can make it through.
which I haven't seen, that came out like last year or the year before. So there's like you said, there's a bunch of Mighty Ducks content out there if you're looking for it.
Well, I know the new one, it has some of the, like, I think Joshua Jackson
Yeah.
is in it. I don't know how much he's in it, but I saw that some of the cast
They have some like
that's in this
cameos or
film,
whatever.
yeah, are in it. So that I don't know, that might be kind of cool to check out. But yeah, the critics, it's 21% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really low. 65%, however, audience score. Cisco and Ebert did not like this film. They gave it 2 thumbs down. And Leonard Maltin only gives it 2 stars.
All right.
So, yeah.
So not great for critic reviews, at least.
But
if you know, you know.
Yeah. I think this film is perfectly fine for what it is. I feel like the critics are very harsh on it.
It doesn't strive for a lot. It doesn't ask for a lot, and it gives you what you
perfectly enjoyable little film.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our thoughts on Mighty Ducks. On these Monday episodes, we always like to talk about what we've been watching. So I'm going to toss it over to you. And did you finish out the trilogy? Did you watch all the Mighty Ducks?
I did not watch all the Mighty Ducks. I'm sorry, I didn't pull a Mad Max and watch Mighty Ducks Beyond Thunderdome or Mighty Ducks Fury Road.
Oh, that'd be so great if
or anything like that.
They start stealing subtitles from other movies. That'd be.
I did, however, watch the original Top Gun with Tom Cruise. I almost said Tom Skerritt, although it does have Tom Skerritt.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, Tom Skerritt, and Val Kilmer, and then of course we both saw, along with Kirby and others, we saw Top Gun Maverick.
That's right.
Another movie with Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. But I decided to watch another movie with Val Kilmer from the 80s that has the word top in it. You have any idea what I'm going to say? It's like Hot Shots or Hot Shots Part 2.
It's not Real Genius.
No.
Not Top of the Lake. Top of the Pops. I don't know.
Top Secret.
Top Secret. Oh, is that the one, the underwater fight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen the movie. I've just seen that scene at the Draft House.
I really dig Top Secret. It's another one of those Zucker brothers, Abraham Zucker movies, and it's admittedly inferior to like Naked Gun and Airplane and those kinds of films, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those movies that I remember seeing it all the time when I was a kid back in the 80s on TV and just thought it was so hilarious and would quote lines from it and everything else. So watching it again was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun movie. Again, Val Kilmer, didn't really do a lot of comedy films. I mean, you mentioned Real Genius, but I feel like he did more like action films, Batman Forever and The Saint and stuff like that, Top Gun, whatever. But he didn't really do a lot of comedies, and Top Secret is obviously a very early example of a comedy that he does. And I really like the songs in it because he's a singer in it. He's Nick Rivers. He's the famous American singer Nick Rivers. I like the songs that they do for it. It's pretty fun. So I enjoyed that. Because I watched Top Gun, I had to watch another America movie, and this one has Charlie Sheen and Michael Biehn and
Navy SEALs.
Val Kilmer's one-time wife, Joanne Whalley, Navy SEALs. That's right.
I got so many. Okay, so
what?
I loved Navy SEALs when I was younger.
Okay.
Like when I was in 4th grade, I watched the crap out of the movie.
Okay.
I had a Navy SEALs flag in my bedroom, childhood bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a Navy SEAL for the longest time.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. Like I was obsessed with that movie.
When's the last time you've seen it?
It's been years. I don't think it's good, but they're playing golf and they have to get called to the mission.
Yeah.
God help us out. I can't see you. He's shooting through the brick wall.
It's not good, but it is fun. I will say that. I had fun watching it. I will say that I think if you took out like Charlie Sheen's character, honestly, and again, I like Charlie Sheen. We mentioned him several times this episode, and I feel like he's a good star.
Yeah.
But I don't really like his character as much as he's the one that, right at the beginning of the film, they're like driving to the wedding, and he jumps out of the Jeep and dives into the river below, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I mean, it's funny, but I think if you took his character out, I actually really like the story because Michael Biehn and Joanne Whalley basically almost, kind of have like a little thing. She's a journalist who's like half Lebanese, I think, and so she has some insight into because I think the terrorists are supposed to be Lebanese or something in the movie, I can't remember, but so she has some like insight into what they're doing or whatever because she's half Lebanese and she comes from that culture and whatnot. And so them kind of trying to figure out where these missiles are and everything actually is a decent film, but it's a lot of the other kind of ridiculous over the top action that makes it a pretty corny film, but it still is a lot of fun. So I enjoyed watching that. And then the final film that I was going to mention is one of my favorites, more kind of lower. Now, I don't know about lower budget, but unknown perhaps by some movies of the 90s. I've seen it plenty of times, and I kind of watched it because Fred Ward passed away. It's got Fred Ward in it, R.I.P. It's Miami Blues with Alec Baldwin, Fred Ward, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. This movie, I love it.
I've never heard of it.
It's a lot of fun. It's streaming actually on Prime Video right now. If you care to check it out, or if you at home would care to check it, or you don't have to be at home, you could be driving in your car, whatever. You're watching us on YouTube, but it's a lot of fun. I think it's a cool little crime action movie. Alec Baldwin's basically a bad guy, like a bad guy who is going on a crime spree. He picks up Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's a prostitute, and he basically she just tags along with him everywhere.
Is he wearing a hot dog shirt?
He does not wear a hot dog shirt, unfortunately. But Fred Ward has false teeth in it. He's like dentures in it. And Alec Baldwin steals them from him.
That's great.
And along with his badge, and Alec Baldwin starts to pretend like he's a cop and like that. It's just a fun movie. I really dig Miami Blues, and it was fun to see it. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's one of those movies that I just revisit every so often, every few years.
Well, you sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that was it. I'm done.
You mentioned Top Gun Maverick, but you never mentioned where you fall on those movies.
I did it because I didn't know if you were going to discuss that. I thought I would just chime in. But I do not like Top Gun. I think Top Gun is just silly. I mean, it's very slick. It's very slickly made. It's obviously Tony Scott. If you like Tony Scott's kind of shtick, you probably like it a lot better than I do. I don't necessarily like a lot of his films, although I did like Enemy of the State. But I think Top Gun is just really, really corny. It doesn't play well for me now. It didn't really honestly play well for me as a kid. But I think Top Gun Maverick is light years better. I think Top Gun Maverick is a very entertaining, very enjoyable film, very well made, funny, has some really good humor in it, some great action sequences, some great flying sequences that put the original to shame. And obviously I know effects and things have progressed in years, so hopefully they would put them to shame, but they do. But I found Top Gun Maverick to be very, very enjoyable.
Very cool.
Okay.
All right. So I did watch Top Gun like you did. I thought I was gonna hate Top Gun more than I did. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
It's it's okay for me. There's nothing great, nothing outstanding for me, but it does what it does. I like that it's minus the ending scene, it's really not a high stakes movie. It's about like going to this school and learning how to fly and all that kind of stuff. So like, it's not like, I don't feel like it's super jingoistic, like Rah Rah America. I know like it pushed a lot of people into the Navy afterwards and stuff like that culturally, but I don't think it's like, like movies like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of like movies where it's just like America's the best, like Rambo, Last Blood or whatever we saw, where people were chanting America. One of my friends screening and stuff like that. I don't think it's like that kind of movie. But so surprising to me. I liked it. It's not great. It's okay, but I didn't really feel like it was just like a propaganda for pro-America kind of stuff when
Yeah.
I watched it, which surprised me. I'm with you on Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick is excellent. It is really, really good. The action's great. I think the writing is superb. I think it's better, more well written, better written than that. It's the direction's great. It's a high recommend. I think one of the things I heard someone talk about in a review that I want to echo here is the sound design is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think what the problem with some blockbusters is that dialogue is getting super muddied. And I'm looking at you, Christopher Nolan, with Interstellar, with Tenet, in all those movies, and everything's crisp, clear. It's really well done. The jets sound good. Like, you can have like a dynamic, big sounding movie and not let the dialogue go to shame. And I think more directors need to look at Top Gun Maverick and fix their movies, because some of these movies are getting really, really hard to hear in the theaters, like where you're supposed to watch them.
Yeah.
And at home, it's hard to hear.
And I'm getting older and more hard of hearing, so I really need you to fix them.
Yeah, we're old. We're yelling at clouds. So I think Top Gun Maverick, if you're one of the few that haven't seen it, it's definitely worth seeing.
Yeah,
and
it's better in every. I mean, admittedly, I'm not a really fan of Top Gun, but it's better in every way to me.
Yeah,
than Top
100%.
Gun is.
It's a good movie. Like, not a good Top Gun movie, not a good military movie. It's a good movie. So
super entertaining.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The other thing that I've been watching is I've been watching this for the last month or so. Is I've watched all 5 seasons of the TV show called The Magicians. The Magicians is based off a trilogy of novels by Lev Grossman, and I love those novels. The novels are really good, and the kind of the pitch of the Magicians was like, what if it's like Harry Potter? What if it's like Hogwarts, but they're adults? It's college. Hogwarts is a college kind of thing. So it's supposed to take a more mature look on what if you have magic and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the novels are really well done. And the other thing that I think Lev Grossman tries to do is there's really no happy ending for any of these characters. It's like, by doing something good doesn't necessarily mean good things will happen to you kind of stuff. So it's a very, like, I don't want to say realistic, because I don't think that's realistic, but it's more of a cynical look on these kind of things. So even though these characters are trying to do good, bad things still happen, and happen because of that.
Yeah.
The TV show takes some of those ideas, takes some other ideas. I think really the first season's based off the first 2 books, and after that it kind of goes in its own direction. And it's really like a tough watch if you really like the novels and you're looking for the novels, because the TV show has virtually no interest in replicating that or bringing those characters you liked from that alive. Like, some of them share the same name, but they're really not the same characters, and that takes a while to get over. And ultimately it just boils down to more of a like Vampire Diaries, like teeny kind of like drama kind of show and stuff like that. Like, it seemed like it would fit really well in the CW. I think it was on Sci-Fi, but it's that kind of show. Like, if you think of like a CW Vampire Diaries kind of Riverdale kind of show, that's kind of what it's going for. So it's disappointing. I don't know why I watched all of it. I just did. Sometimes I was hate watching it, but there's sometimes that there was some interesting things being done that kind of caught me by surprise. And those little nuggets that were few and far between kind of kept me interested in the series.
You were about to give up, and then you would get something that would give you
something
hope.
that's like, oh, this is interesting. This is a weird take. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm interested. And then I watch, and I'm just like, oh yeah, wait, the writing is terrible in this show. It feels very like written for the lowest common denominator kind of stuff. It's really disappointing when you compare the novels, which I don't think are like people talk about as being like, Dostoevsky or anything like that. There's no Brother Karamazov or anything like that. But I think it's a good series of books. And then watch this. I keep on telling myself I want to look up and see if Lev has said anything about the series.
And the series is completely done now.
It is done. All 5 seasons are on Netflix.
I see.
And and they're like, it's an hour-long series, and luckily the last 3 series or so are 13 episode series, not full, like 20 episodes or whatever. So it makes it a little bit more condensed. It's just it's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know. It could have been so much better, but I've started and stopped it like 3 times before. I'll get like certain way in, and I'm just like, oh, I'm over it. But this time I decided to charge through and finish it. And now I can be done with it.
You're done.
Because
you're not any better off.
No, I'm not. I really like the novels. So that's what I've been watching. The Magicians, Top Gun Maverick. Go watch that and Top Gun.
Alrighty. So this episode we took a look at the Mighty Ducks. What did you decide to pair the Mighty Ducks with? I
sat long and hard and really thought about it. No, just kidding. I decided to go with the sequel, D2, The Mighty Ducks. Like I spent probably about as much time choosing the sequel as they did choosing the name of the sequel. So that's what I decided to go with, was D2, The Mighty Ducks. Figured give you 2 out of 3 and let you decide if you wanted to watch the third one or not.
Well, last week we did Mad Max 2. This week we're doing Mighty Ducks 2.
And then next week we might do a sequel to this. Maybe. It happens. All right. Well, that's everything Mighty Ducks and what we've been watching. Please like, subscribe, share, do all that social media stuff for the show. It really does help spread the word, and we really do appreciate it. Let us know what you think about Mighty Ducks down below. Are you an old curmudgeon like Andy and you're just think it's okay? Or are you just like pushing the nostalgia button over and over again like me? Let us know what you think. I'd be curious to see that. And stay tuned Wednesday when we watch D2, The Mighty Ducks, and see if a bigger cast and bigger stakes make the movie better or not. And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye.